On, hang tight. We didn't have the audio. No, right there, Scarlett.
All right. Hey, thanks for joining us. So sorry. Had some technical issues there again, but hey, so glad you're here tonight. We're going to have a lot of fun again tonight and talk about some great content. And so we want to kick off our time together, though, by recognizing some winners from last week. And so we're going to flash some pictures up on the screen there for you. Congratulations to the Richardsons. They won Pictionary last week, and so congratulations. Also, Jane Warren won Tax Trivia. So good job there. Awesome job. And the Bostons, they won the 1st to 10 quarantine edition, but that was actually their second time to win. So they actually deferred their winning prize of dinner to another family whose dad is currently deployed. And so that's really cool. Great job, Bostons. That's really awesome. So tonight we're going to kind of dive back into the Family Crafted Discipleship Plan. Over the past few weeks, we've been talking about different parts of it. And so if you have not watched all 4 of those previous videos, those are going to be key going into tonight. And so I encourage you can still watch tonight, but you're going to need to go back and watch those before you can really put together your Family Crafted Discipleship Plan that we're going to talk about tonight. And so those 4 things were spiritual disciplines. And so we talked about spiritual disciplines as an individual and also as a family, some things that you can be doing, as well as church engagement. And so ways that you can engage with the church through worship, through small groups, through serving, and different aspects like that. We talked about missional living and what that looks like and what that means to live missionally in our lives. And then we talked about family life last week and talked about just the importance of investing in our spouse and our kids and all of that. So again, you're going to need a list of those things moving forward, and so make sure you have that. And then tonight, Brett's going to kind of talk through and lead us through some rhythms and seasons and how we can put all of that together to have our personally crafted discipleship plan just for your family that can grow together and closer to Christ. And so I'm going to turn it over to Brett, and he's going to kind of walk us through that next step.
Yeah, thanks, Kendall. I think one of the easy ways to think about this is the last 4 weeks we've been talking about the what. When we talk about discipling in the home, what do we do? And that's what you just reviewed for us, and that's what the last 4 weeks have been: the spiritual disciplines, missional living, church engagement, and family life. That's the what. Now tonight we're going to talk about the how, and at the end of tonight we're going to wrap it all up, and you'll actually have your family crafted discipleship plan ready, or at least all the tools to do that. And we'll be back next week as we're still journeying through some coronavirus times for a family roundtable, but this will be the conclusion for that. So the what are the 4 categories. The how do we do that is we do that in rhythms and seasons. One of the scary things I think for a parent is when you think about discipling your family. It's what does that mean? Does that mean that every Thursday night I've got to gather my family around the fireplace and start a fire, and I've got to take them through the book of Joel verse by verse and figure out what that means? And that becomes overwhelming. But what we want to do, and we're going to look at a passage of scripture tonight, is help us think in rhythms and seasons. What are the rhythms of your life that happen already that are key moments where you can put discipleship in? And then what are some seasons in your life that are just great times where you think differently, life looks a little different, that you can put some spiritual value into? So if you have a Bible, I want you to go to Deuteronomy chapter 6. We look at this passage a lot because it is one of the key passages in the scripture that talks about family, talks about family discipleship. And so I want to read to us Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 4 through 9. Here's what it says. It says, "Listen, Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength. These words that I am giving you today are to be in your heart." Now listen to what happens in verse 7 through 9, because Moses gives us the how of family discipleship. Verse 7, he says, "Repeat them to your children, these words that I've laid on your heart. Repeat them to your children. Talk about them when you sit in your house and when you walk along the road, when you lie down and when you get up. Bind them as a sign on your hand and let them be a symbol on your forehead. Write them on the doorposts of your house and on your city gates." And so in this, we see a rhythm of a life of the people that Moses is talking to. And so for us, we have some rhythms. Coronavirus has definitely thrown our rhythms off, but when we're not living in that world, if you have kids, you take kids to school. If you don't take kids to school, you get them up and you help them get ready for the day. You have rhythms of maybe going to and from extracurricular activities. You actually have a rhythm of going to and from church. If you have younger kids, I guarantee you have a bedtime rhythm or routine. And so as you start thinking about rhythms, you'll find that you have a lot more than you're probably aware of. And so one of the things on the resource page on the website was a download for the Rhythm and Season worksheet. And one of the questions we'd love for you to fill out this week is to think through, what do you do regularly, week in, week out, that is kind of a routine, a habit, places you go, people you see, because you want to take those rhythms and then put discipleship moments on top of them. And when we get to the roundtable in a moment with these guys, we'll talk about some of our rhythms. Then you have seasons. And there are some times in life where our rhythms come to a natural break. You don't do the same thing day in and day out that you do on Christmas Day. In fact, even the Christmas season, life tends to look a little bit different. You spend time as a family in different ways. You might travel to see family during a lot of holidays, and so seasons are different than rhythms. But seasons can bring some great times for a mom and a dad to lean into their family and to use those moments to disciple. And if you look back through the way that the Israel lived, they had religious festivals all the time. And they were milestone markers for the people of Israel to think about the Lord and to disciple their families. So tonight, that's what we're talking about, rhythms, seasons, and trying to help you figure out what your rhythms and your seasons are, because this is a family-crafted discipleship plan. Your family's rhythms and seasons will look different than mine. They'll look different than any of the guys up on this round table. But tonight, we hope to help you begin thinking through them and maybe encourage you with some ideas of our own. But one of the favorite things we do, and we know the kids love doing this, is we're going to play a game. So, Michael, take us away.
All right. Well, hey, this is another Beat the Pastor game. And so you need to pick which pastor on stage that you want to play against. And what you're going to try to find is the pastor who knows the least amount about cookies. And so we're playing a game called Chocolate Chip or Oatmeal Raisin. And so I'm going to ask some cookie questions, and they're going to hold up their answers while you score at home. And so I'm going to ask them a question. They're going to hold up either a chocolate chip or a trademarked California raisin. So we were looking for sponsors for this week, and California Raisin did not sponsor us, to be clear. And so we're going to ask that at the end of the game. If you scored more points than the pastor you played against, send your name in via Remind or to blevi@fbg.church. So with that,
let's get it.
And this is going to be annoying, but I'm going to have to count mine out loud so I don't forget.
okay.
Somebody on this panel was supposed to bring paper and pens for us to keep score, and I forgot those.
I was going to say, I think
They were not you. I know you're looking at your list. I know, that was totally on me.
Yeah.
I actually brought them someplace. They're somewhere in here. I just don't know where they
somewhere
are.
in the worship center. Okay.
All right, let's play.
Let's play.
Let's do it.
All right.
Oh, I think I know
Oatmeal raisin, or chocolate chip.
So we're determining if
You're
that's
determining
an oatmeal.
that cookie. Yeah, is that cookie right there
Oh, man.
on the screen an oatmeal raisin or a chocolate chip?
Okay, and we 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, 3, 2, and 1.
I'm saying chocolate chip.
Raisin,
think it's raisin.
and chocolate chip, and the answer is
oatmeal
raisin.
Boom, baby.
Maybe
There
I
we
won't
go.
have
Yeah.
to count the ones I get right.
Yeah. You got literally no answers correct
I
tonight.
know.
Okay.
100%.
Number next. Oatmeal raisin or chocolate chip?
I know this one too.
All right, I'm ready.
You ready? 3, 2, 1, and chocolate chip,
chocolate chip.
universal. And the answer?
All right.
Chocolate chip.
one.
Good job.
I got 2 for
Good
2.
job.
The thing is, all these kids picked me because I'm the fattest person up here, and they think I know cookies, and now unfortunately they're all losing.
Oh, man. Here we go.
Here we-
Oatmeal raisin or chocolate chip?
It's a little harder.
I'm ready.
3, 2, 1.
Oatmeal raisin.
Oh, raisin for everyone.
Oh,
chocolate chip.
that burned everybody.
Wow,
I
guys.
still have just one. Okay.
Yeah, okay. Here we go. Now, this next one, oatmeal raisin or chocolate chip?
If I miss
it's
this
the
one,
same question over and over again.
this is very creative.
3, 2, 1.
If I miss this one, I'm out
Right?
of here.
Chocolate chip for everyone, and the answer is, of course, oatmeal
Oatmeal
raisin.
raisin.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah,
It's all good.
So chocolate chippy.
I know.
it looked. chocolate
Everyone's
chippy.
probably going to beat us tonight.
This
So
is,
Yeah.
this is literally the hardest game we've ever played. And
Well-
the dumbest.
Harder than tax game.
Here we go. Oatmeal raisin or chocolate chip.
I'm ready.
I'm just going with what I like.
3, 2, 1. Chocolate chip across the board.
Chocolate chip.
oh,
Oatmeal
man.
raisin.
Get him.
Listen, it's a 50-50 shot. I've got one. Like I could literally, you could put a monkey up here to pick an answer, one, and would be doing better
Well,
than me.
if we were competing against each other, you're only one behind. So
Are
you're
you
fine.
serious?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, for real.
Man.
All right.
Well, I don't want to tip my hand on what the next question is, but it's the same one. Oatmeal raisin or chocolate chip? Oh, it's not. And I forgot about that.
Well, it is though. It's the. We're still
which one,
guessing
which one has more calories? Which
Yeah.
one has more calories? Oatmeal raisin or chocolate chip?
Okay.
Well, what type of chocolate chips? Is it dark chocolate, milk chocolate?
My assumption is we're going to go with milk chocolate here,
Okay.
not a
Changes
70% dark
I
chocolate.
think
All
I'm
right.
ready
I've got
now.
a new strategy. I'm ready.
Okay,
3, 2, 1.
3, 2, 1.
All the same.
Oatmeal raisin across
I
the
thought
board.
it was chocolate chip, and I've been wrong so many times. I went
Oh.
oatmeal raisin. And
Yeah.
I outthought myself.
Try to do this bad.
They-
This is
And it's just poking too. You see the comment
Yeah, it
underneath
did.
it?
Yeah.
it's,
Duh. They're chocolate
Which
chips.
has more
Which one has more
sodium?
sodium?
okay.
Oatmeal raisin or chocolate chip? 3, 2, 1.
Chocolate chip. Come on.
And the answer is
Oh,
Of course it
oatmeal
is.
raisin.
LJ pulls.
Took
pulls
the
ahead.
lead.
Yeah. That's science right there, guys.
Really?
Here we go.
I
Next
thought we used
question.
Science in the last one, but
Oatmeal raisin or chocolate chip? 3, 2, 1.
It was this one. Oatmeal raisin.
Here we go. What do we got? Chocolate
finally.
chip.
I want the
Finally.
audience to know that this is not a shtick. I
No.
really don't know these answers, apparently.
So what is the score? Let's get it.
I have one.
So
Brett has 1.
I have 3.
Kendall has 3.
4.
And 4 for LJ. Okay. Here we go. If you're playing at home, you're probably winning. Okay, what % of Americans say chocolate chip is their favorite? And so what we'll do here is we'll go with the person
Chocolate chip.
we'll go with the pastor who gets the closest.
Okay.
The closest.
I think Brett should guess first.
Okay,
what
I'm going
percent?
first.
Actually, but how do we
I
Yeah.
don't mind. I'll,
Well,
I'll-
no, I'm trying
I'll
to
be
think
bold.
how we score that at home for the individual who's trying to beat you. Let's do this. Plus or minus 10 percentage points. Okay? Plus or minus 10%. And so I'll give the range. If you fall within the range after the answer, you got
They
it
get a
right.
point. So they don't
yeah.
have to beat us. They just
Yeah, you don't have to be. You,
Okay, I'm saying the percent of Americans say chocolate chip is their favorite is 80%.
Okay, 80%,
50.
50,
I want to go 51.
51, and the correct answer is actually 53%.
Man, what a
Okay, so
Oh
So,
my goodness.
Kendall and LJ got it right. If you at home are in the range of 43% to 63%, if you said anything 43 to 63, you got that one correct.
But just to be clear, Brett missed that one again.
Yeah, but Brett missed
want
it.
this game to end.
But Brett
This is
missed
the
it.
most demoralizing
Well,
game.
good news. This is the final question, and I'll give you a guess on what the question is: oatmeal raisin or chocolate chip.
All right. I can double my answer, double my points right here if I get this correct.
Here we go.
Can I phone a friend?
Yeah, you can. Kendall or LJ? No, I'm kidding.
No, I'm going to go on my
3, 2, 1.
own. Chocolate chip.
Chocolate chip, oatmeal raisin. And the correct answer is, of course,
Yes.
oatmeal raisin. There it is.
I think that
Okay.
ties me and LJ.
So,
Yep.
so what's our final score for
I got
pasters?
5. I got
Kendall had
5,
5.
10.
Brett
I'd won.
had 1 out of 10. It's 1 out of 10.
It's 50-50 almost. This
Yeah.
is unbelievable.
Yeah, you
Wow.
10%
5.
5. Okay, so if you played at home against Brett, just send us your name. And if you played against Kendall or LJ and got more than 5 right, send us in. You can do it via Remind or blevi@fbg.church.
Right on.
LJ?
Hey, before we get into more talk about rhythms and seasons, kids, I want to throw a few activities your way. So we have those activities on the resource page that you can print off and use at this time. I do want to highlight the Give Thanks activity. I'd like for you to use that in one of two ways. One is, during this time, it's really easy to get frustrated and really easy to get discouraged with just stuff going on and thinking about what we miss. And if we're not careful, we get into bitterness pretty quick. And so I'd love for you guys to just think through your day, think through your week, think about your family, what's going on at home, and just come up with some things that you're thankful for. And if you'll take that give thanks sheet and write one thing under each heading that says give thanks, and then put those in a jar. It'd be cool for at the end of the week for you to go back and pull one out as a family and just realize, review what you're thankful for. And then over time, if you do this regularly, you're going to see that God's been faithful, that God is so good to us. And so I'd love for you guys to work on that during this time.
I'm thankful Lydia Sawyer, and I don't know if it was the boys too, but I know Lydia for sure brought cookies to our family, chocolate chip ones. I was able to identify those, but I had to eat them to identify them. No, I could have looked at them and known, but obviously I'm not good at the game. So I want us to talk practically about rhythms and seasons to help give some handlebars maybe for people watching at home to grab onto. And so as we talk rhythms first, I don't want to talk family. I want to ask you just in your own personal rhythms, because I think some people who've never practiced discipling their family probably have some personal rhythms already. So tell us a little bit about, like, what is one or two personal rhythms you have for your spiritual growth, for your own personal discipleship?
Yeah. So for me, I'm a morning person, and I really focus well in the morning. By mid-afternoon, I'm pretty worthless. So I try to, and have kind of set up a rhythm. This just happens naturally in my life of being up. Usually I'm the first one up anyways in my family, and so utilizing that time well to be in the Word or to be praying or whatever that might be, and just kind of utilizing that time where it's uninterrupted. I'm really able to focus well and just do that. So for me, that's kind of one of the rhythms that's just kind of happened over time, and it's been really good.
And that's a daily thing for you, daily rhythm.
Yeah.
Okay. What about you guys?
Yeah, I would say similar to Kendall. Now, I'm not normally the first one up because I have children that wake up at all sorts of hours, and so typically somebody's awake in my house. But, for me, one of the things that has been so consistent over the past few years of my life is the discipline of not only reading and praying, but also journaling in my time with the Lord. And so within that morning routine, there's a flow to it that's just natural at this point. And so anything that veers from that actually just kind of throws me off mentally. And so I am, it's not mundane, it's not routine, it's consistent. And so that's one of the things for me, though, is that pattern of prayer, reading, prayer, and journaling is kind of that order I go in. And if I'm not in that, man, it completely throws me for a loop. So,
Yeah. I would go in with these guys and say the same things: prayer, Bible reading. I set at least one day in my week to do journaling, just in case. It gives me a chance to think through some prayers, write some things out to the Lord. And I always look forward to that time. And then something that's not necessarily weekly, maybe more quarterly, is to plan a time of retreat where I can get away and turn stuff off and not be distracted, and just have some time that's a little bit different to seek the Lord. And I find that those times are always rich, and I appreciate those times and the gift that those times are.
So you have a rhythm quarterly. Do you calendar that out in advance? Like, how do you make sure that you're doing that, or is it just kind of a rhythm feel for you?
Yeah, so I have put it on the calendar before. Right now, it's been a while since I've gone out. I need to make sure that happens, and then we'll look at a time to make it happen. Usually, like, it's my wife is going to go see her parents with the kids, and so I know that I'm going to have 2 days, and so I'll set some time. I probably won't come in the office or take a day off, and then spend some time. I might go to a park or something for several hours and get stuff done. So.
Okay. So I'll give an idea too, just kind of outside the box. I love listening to music. There's a lot of great podcasts out there, though. And so I actually have, and again, I'm a calendar person. I have a rhythm. It's 1 week out of every month where when I'm driving to work, wherever I'm driving, I'm just listening to podcasts to grab some content. And so that is a rhythm. It's not a typical rhythm that probably anyone else has. People look at me and go, what do you mean that's weird? Just once out of every 4 weeks. That's how I do it. But I have that rhythm to make sure that I'm listening to other voices and feeding my soul in some areas without, otherwise I listen to music all day long. Were you going to say something else? Or?
well, I was going to say prioritizing Sabbath day individually, that that's something where if you were to even see the calendar I send out, you'll see days that are clearly that are marked off as this is all. I'm not this is Sabbath. This is a day of rest, and so it's just a healthy rhythm. So
We may need to come back next week. We're talking about what to do next. We may need to come back and help people walk through how do you Sabbath in a busy world. I don't know the idea. So what about families? What rhythms do you guys have with your family? And we've got elementary age kids, an infant. I've got junior high and elementary. So what does a family rhythm look like for discipleship for you? Give us a practical idea.
Yeah, for us having a 6-month-old, just naturally one of the rhythms that we kind of found was bottle time, right? Feeding, and so those things that hopefully we're doing on a regular basis for our 6-month-old. So just kind of rallying around that, just knowing that about 5 to 7 times a day we're going to be sitting down feeding him, and so trying to utilize those times well. And so sometimes we're good at that, sometimes we're not, and that kind of falls on me. But just trying to build that rhythm into something we're already doing. So we're already teaming up to help feed him, and so it's not like we're adding something to the calendar. We're just doing it and just being more intentional with it as we're there. And so yeah, that's one thing for us.
Can I lean in and say something real quick? I know y'all might have something to say, but I think one of the questions too, like with an infant, 6 months old now?
Yeah.
Did you just say that?
Yeah.
Like I think some parents go, well, how do I disciple a 6-month-old? Can I put you guys on the spot? Like I'll put myself on the spot and say, if you're a parent of a 6-month-old and you go, hey, I need ideas, I don't know what to do, give us a call, email us. We can talk through that. We won't jump into it now because that's not for everybody. But I think that's a valid question. And if people need help, and we want to jump in there and help you start thinking through that. So, okay, sorry.
I was say, yeah, I mean, it's our kids typically around 4 or 5 months started their daily devotional, and so that's completely not true.
That is a lie.
That'd be so fun, though. No, but one of the rhythms I miss right now in this season is taking my daughter to school, and so we had some very meaningful time every single morning set aside where she and I could have heart-to-heart conversations. And so one of the aspects of this time away is kind of grieving some of that loss of normalcy. And we're a few weeks into being at home, and I realized that my last time to take my daughter to kindergarten was gone, and I didn't realize it. And so, yeah, that rhythm though of intentional conversation with her on the way to school is vital. And then, in addition to that, from a family standpoint, a little bit more broad, we try to make it a priority to eat dinner together and then transition immediately into a time of family worship, and so that's just normal for them. Hey, we're eating. And yes, we're going to have dessert. We always have dessert, and then family worship. And so that's one of the ways we're able to maintain family worship is because of the rhythm aspect of it. That's what we do. So
we capitalize on bedtime. Just a regular night at our house is going to be. We've wrapped up dinner. Our kids stay up typically till 8:30. And so we might have a little snack before they go down. But we always at least sing the doxology together. That sets the pace, and they know, hey, once that song's over, it's time to go to bed. Don't come out your room. Natalie, I know you're listening. Do not come out of your room. And so that's been fun. And so some other things that we've done in the past, we would do donuts once a month. I would take the kids early and let Bethany sleep in, and just have intentional conversations with them while we were doing donuts. And then at least once a week, I will try to take them up to their rooms for bedtime and give them a chance to just ask any questions they might have about anything. And that is one of my favorite times with my kiddos. So
awesome. So let's talk seasons. That's different. So give us some practical ideas. Like what's one season in your family in which you lean in and disciple intentionally during that season?
Well, it's during seasons, and what I mean by that is when a new sports season kicks off, we become intentional about what our kids do in relationship to teammates, and so team sports and what my role is as a Christian athlete on a team, that has been something very important to me since high school, and so I have found many opportunities in my own life to help share the love of Christ in the midst of an environment that's sometimes kind of challenging to live out your Christian walk in. And so with my kids, as they start new seasons, we want to be the best teammates. We want to be overly generous. We want to be the people that are like, oh my gosh, why did you do that? You didn't have to do that. We want to pray for teammates. We want to bring those conversations up on a regular basis. And so we see a new season as a new opportunity to help our kids see people around them through the lens of loving God and loving people. And so that's a big thing for us. Is just, man, new season, new people to invest in. So.
And to help people at home, if you're struggling through this, that was missional living. That was the category of missional living put into a season.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
What about you guys? From a seasons, what do you have?
Yeah, obviously with a 6-month-old, it looks different. I mean, he's not quite driving a NASCAR yet, but he's getting there. He's getting there. He's already got a steering wheel. We're practicing. But I think, I mean, all of ours is kind of the missional living thing too with Amy and I is looking for opportunities around seasonal times, whether it's Christmas, Halloween, Easter, whatever, to look for those missional living type things, to look at what's already naturally happening and see how you can jump in and serve other people and point them to Jesus. But also, there's time too with family and things around holidays that it can be very easy to just relax around those times instead of take opportunities for whatever that might look like. And so just utilizing that and taking advantage of that.
Yeah, that's a good word. You got any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, we love Christmas, and so we'll celebrate Advent all the way through. Using some devotional guide or something like that. There's tons of stuff around holidays that are really easy to implement in the home where you really don't even have to plan a lot. So we would do one where we would plan maybe one activity during the week that took a little more time to get ready, but outside of that, super easy. Even around Easter, like Holy Week, every day we would do something. We did resurrection rolls at the end. If you don't know what that is, Google it. It's really fun for kids. So we take advantage of holidays as much as we can.
Yeah, we used the app that we talked about early on, the Easter app, and it was like I'd get the alert, and I was like, "Hey, this is what's happening now." It was a really cool experience. So one thing I want us to make sure too that we're clear about is seasons don't necessarily have to be holidays. Sports season was a good example. Seasons are more kind of maybe it's a rhythm, but it's a once a year rhythm.
Yeah.
Talking about family life, your anniversary, if you're married, that'd be a season. You don't lean in on a date night or plan something, in some other time of the year as you might during your anniversary. You go, hey, I'm going to lean in and do that. For us, and I'm going to show mine at the end of the night, our family craft discipleship plan. But like my family is literally in a season right now of discipleship. It's the ready, set, go season. That has nothing to do with time of year. It's just, as Kevin's in the Colossians series and said, hey, we want to do a family intensive, ready, set, go. We've been using the guide that we printed off, and so we posted the pictures, the Ready Bride picture. I'm uploading our family redo photos tonight. They were fantastic. But we've been doing a question a night. We just gather 7:30, 8 o'clock, and we read through Colossians, whichever section we're in a different translation. We've been talking about a question, and we've been doing some other things too, memorizing scripture together. And so we won't continue that pace every week, but we are for 3 weeks as we go, ready, set, go. So that's a season. So talking about church, though, church gives us some seasons as well. Events. We have kids ministry events. We've got youth ministry events. I just gave a family ministry event. Talk to us about how events and seasons work together in your mind if somebody's filling out their discipleship plan.
So with the rhythm part of what we provide as a church, I think that's super simple. There's a guide for sermons that you can pull up and use in the home. There's different things that we do that we provide for parents. But for events, sometimes it looks a little bit different. And so sometimes in kids and in youth ministry, we'll be more intentional in providing you something that you can go home, you can use at home, right? So in the summer, if we had Wind Shape Camp, you're going to get something every day that you can talk to your kids about. And so you could take advantage of that. But there's some other things that maybe we think outside the box that would benefit you as a family. So we have the Family Fall Fest that comes up in October. That's an opportunity for you as a family to serve at that event. or get into your community and start inviting neighbors, and you can do that as a family. And so we have some of those other things that pop up throughout the year that'd be really simple, really easy to get people involved in.
Yeah, y'all have any thoughts?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think I use mission trips as an example. We don't carve a week out of the year because we believe that 1 out of 52 weeks is sufficient for living on mission. Like we don't sit there and travel away because like, oh yeah, as long as you check that box, you're good to go. We do want to give students an opportunity to experience what it means to live on mission and leverage that to say, hey, listen, this doesn't have to stop right here. And so one of the ways it gets perpetuated in the home is if parents start thinking about missions as more of a springboard to what life looks like afterwards, and even walks through some of that preparation process with their kids. And so, the kids that go on mission and are those that are the most prepared to go are not the ones who have sat through all my lectures about what it means to live on mission. It's the ones whose parents who have coached them up for years and what it means to live on mission. It's those servant-hearted, those loving people who just, they see the world around them through a different lens. And so we look at events within youth ministry as springboards, as maybe hitting the accelerator, and we know we can't do this all the time from a programmatic standpoint. We can't always have a mission trip, but we can always live on mission. What would you say?
Yeah, and I would kind of just on the same page as that is I think when we as a church plan events, whether they're week-long camps or just even day events, there's a heart behind it that's designed for families to be a part and to grow, whether that's together or to have a specific time where you send a kid off to grow spiritually. And so, we're not planning those just because we want to keep our job, right? Like that, like there's a purpose behind those that I think if we look at it, from a different lens of, I'm sending my kid or we're going as a family, whatever it is, purposely to grow closer to Christ. I think that just that mindset change can go a long ways too.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say one more thing. One more thing is I'm not there yet with my kids when it comes to spending a full summer of youth ministry trips dollars on my kids. There will be a day when I have 4 kids in youth ministry and a combination of 16 trips to pay for, something like that, over the course of the summer. And so there's an aspect of just being forthright, I think, in conversation and saying, hey, we as a family are committing to send you. We as a family are. And so I think that's one thing. If you're paying for something, then I would take it a step further and think through spiritually, okay, if I'm going to put dollars to this, how can I put prayers to it? If I'm going to put dollars to it, how can I help prepare my kid to go? And so if it's camp, which is meant for evangelism, how do I help my kid evangelize prior to? If it's mission, which is meant for sharing the gospel out there, how do I help my kid? If it's a discipleship trip, how do I prepare the heart? And so I think that's another way I would say that a family can capitalize on a seasonal thing is thinking through, okay, realistically, on any other thing that I'm going to spend money on, I'm going to invest myself into it to get bang for my buck. It's even more so true in the area of parental discipleship with kids. So
Yeah, now that's 2 things I'd say. I've told people before when they are filling out their family crafted discipleship plan, take anything, take a high school mission trip, take WindShape. If you can't just put that on your discipleship form, say this is what we're doing as a family, and then drop your kids off at church and then pick them back up. When you put that on your discipleship plan, what you're saying is this is going to be a tool that we use as a family, partnered with the church to disciple my kids. And so, one of the things in youth ministry, like at a mission trip, there used to be, and we may still do this now, I don't know, a blog. The kids would they would write their story of what happened that day. And the idea was so that when you picked your kid back up from the mission trip, and you had an 8th grade boy, and you went, "Hey, how was the trip?" And he went, "Good." And you went, "Oh, great. Well, what'd you do?" Mission stuff. Well, what kind of mission stuff? And then you don't want to strangle your kid in the car right there after you picked them back from this, mile high, spiritual moment. And so the idea was, hey, let's give parents. They can read some blogs along the way. They know how to pray while we're on the field. And they can come back, instead of saying, how was the mission trip? They can say, hey, I saw on Tuesday one of the groups painted this house. Were you in that group or were you in this group? And, to get the conversation going a little more so that you could have some discipling moments with your kids and hear more and then lean in and have some of those conversations to help them debrief what the Lord did in their life and help it sink into their heart. The other thing I'd say, and obviously, like when you take a kids trip or youth ministry trip, you can't take, every parent on everything. But there's an idea of shared stories. And when the more time we're with people, the more stories we're sharing, the closer the bond. In the years of doing youth ministry back in those days, what I saw all the time was the sixth grader who had a group of friends in fifth grade, and they went to sixth grade, and they started getting involved in other things. They're now in choir, or maybe seventh grade when they do athletics, and they're playing volleyball, and their other friends are playing something else. And then what I would hear is, my friends don't like me anymore. And it wasn't that their friends didn't like them anymore. It was just this person was in choir, and the friends they had spent the last 4 or 5 years with in elementary school and sixth grade, they're in choir, and their other friends are playing volleyball. And so the volleyball players have more shared stories, and the choir kids have more shared stories. And while the kid in choir is going, my volleyball friends don't like me anymore, the volleyball kids are going, my choir friend doesn't like me anymore. And it wasn't a matter of do we like each other or not. We just don't have the same things in common because we have different shared stories. So you take that and put it on a family. Like, I want to have opportunities when my kids are in the flow of what the Holy Spirit's doing, that I want to be there. My kid goes, hey, you can't come to youth camp with me. Well, first of all, if I'm paying the bill, I'm going to go wherever I want, as long as Michael lets me go. But I understand, okay, so I won't be in your group. I won't be your group leader, and I'll stay as far away from you as possible if I'm an embarrassment to you. But I want to have the same shared story because at some point I'm going to be able to say, what did you think about that sermon? Hey, this happened in the youth group. I mean, tell me what God's doing in your life. And I got to experience that in a way that I wouldn't if I'm not there. And again, that can't happen all the time, but you got to have some moments where those things can. So let's hit this one briefly because we have some special guests we need to bring up. Just kind of a rapid-fire question. Give it 30 seconds or less. What kind of encouragement would you give to a family who's trying to figure out what their rhythms and seasons look like?
I would start with personal devotion to the Lord. And so look at your own rhythms and seasons and make sure that you are seeking the Lord first. Let him pour into you. Let your heart be a sponge. And so then when your kids get around and they start pushing on you, when they press on you, the Lord is what comes out. And so I'd start there.
That's great. You guys have thoughts?
Yeah, I would start with something that's attainable. And so, I think a lot of people have this idea, I'm going to have this fully developed family crafted discipleship plan, and it's so in-depth and it's so complicated and complex. And then they get a few weeks into those rhythms and they realize, man, I just added 4 hours a week to my schedule by trying to get all these different rhythms in there, and I don't really have 4 hours a week right now. And so I would say start with attainability as the goal and add, and you'll find that some things just become a part of your natural flow of life moving forward. And so when you try to add on that next thing, you're adding on to what's already common.
It's good.
Yeah, I think I would just say you can't lead where you're not going yourself, right? And so just starting with yourself and finding those rhythms and then go from there. So.
Yeah, and I think I'd piggyback off what you said, Michael. I would find, what are you already doing? Don't even add anything. Like if your kid plays soccer and you have to take them to soccer practice twice a week or 3 times a week, you're already doing that. So instead of listening to music in the car, maybe fighting over music in the car on the way from the house to soccer practice, could you practice memorizing scripture together on the way? Could you talk about use one of the tools that you guys give for youth ministry and kids ministry, conversation starters about what they're hearing on Sundays and Wednesdays? Can you talk in the car? That you're already doing. It doesn't cost you anything extra. You're not starting anything new. You're just redeeming the time for something else.
Yeah, so if you were to come to church and then leave church and ask the discussion questions on the way to lunch, and instead of going out by yourself to lunch, but go with somebody from this church to lunch, and then when you go to practice the next night, pray beforehand that you have an opportunity to speak in a meaningful way. Like you've already covered church engagement, you've covered missional, and you've added 0 time.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I love about the Family Craft Discipleship Plan. It's easy. We just have to figure out how to put it in our rhythms and seasons. All right, so hey, I know normally we're trying to break up and do things, games. Tonight we kind of have a long section of content, but we want to bring up a family. Jason and Christy Palmer, I think they understand crazy rhythms and crazy seasons maybe more than the average family. And so, Michael, you're going to interview them, and we're going to step off the stage.
Yep.
and hand our mics over to them.
That'll be great. Well, thank y'all so much for being here. Certainly glad y'all made the time to do this. And so, if y'all don't know the Palmers, I encourage you when we all get back together to spend some time getting to know them. And so I've gotten to know them over the past year and a half, and it's been a lot of fun. And so wanted to kind of pick your brain before we do. We just tell a little bit about your family dynamic. So who are you? What do you do? What would you say makes up your family here?
So Jason and Christy Palmer, we've lived here 3.5 years. Army moved us here from Washington, D.C., which proved to be our final military assignment. Retired from active service in the military effective January 1st, and I've been serving since the end of the fall as the Dean of Spiritual Life and University Chaplain at University of Mary Hardin-Baylor in Belton. We love Georgetown and love the context that this church and the local community is allowing us to raise men of character and integrity.
So speaking of men, we have 4 sons. Our oldest is Josh. He's 17 and a junior. And then we have Eli, who is 14 and in 8th grade. And we have Caleb, who is 10 and in 4th grade. And then Nathan is our little guy, and he's 6 and is a kindergartner.
Awesome. So as we get started, so y'all both want to raise your kids. You both want to disciple them. You both want to invest in them spiritually. And so as you're making decisions as a family, as a couple, on how to lead out in that area, does that come from one of you, both of you? What is that dynamic like?
Yeah, the heart to do it certainly comes from both of us, but I'll say that the practice of how we put it into functionality is a product not really of passion, because we're both passionate about seeing our sons raised the right way, but they've really been delivered on the lines of proximity. When I was deployed to the other side of the world, sometimes I wasn't present at bedtime. I wasn't present to be able to see their reactions to certain events in their life, and Christy was. Other times, it's not just on proximity, it's because of the gifts that each one of us have that are complementary. Or maybe it's just based in the roles that we've established as dad and mom in our house. So the way that we get about it, I would say, is twofold. One, it is intentional in some respects, but it's also, in parallel with that, capturing teachable moments as they present, which are very different for a kindergartner and an 11th grader, but they are simultaneously happening, and we're trying to target those with tailored responses.
Awesome. So you talk about that dynamic of you being away, and so what would you say? Okay, if there's a dynamic where somebody has more presence, how do you stay aligned though? Like, how do you stay where proximity separates you, and we have families in our church whose schedules are just different, and so proximity in the morning with kids is more available. We have people who go to work and come back. Just that dynamic. How do you maintain energy? How do you maintain this feeling that you're both on the same page?
So it requires talking about it. It begins with trust. It begins with regular conversations, both before times that we were separated and also times that we were together, that we are on the same team, that we present a united front to the boys, that an answer from one parent, whether he is telling you this from Iraq or from the kitchen, is as authoritative as if you ask the other parent. And we're not perfect in that by any sense, but when the boys come to us, that's our goal, is to present that to them. And it just begins with trusting and giving one another the benefit of the doubt, and regularly having to say, I'm sorry, when you didn't support your spouse's initiatives.
I just wanted to add to that we have tried to employ a Team Palmer concept in the way that we approach just life in general, that when one of us has more going on, the other people kind of pick up the slack a little bit and help out, whether they were, toddlers or now high schoolers. It never changed. So when Dad was deployed, it was, listen, we are Team Palmer supporting Dad on a really long mission trip, back home. And the way that we do that best is by fill in the blank.
That's awesome. So you do have boys that range from kindergarten through 11th grade. I mean, that's a big span of time. How do you differentiate your response, your approach, your intentionality? Like, do you have, and as an aside, because I find this, do you ever find yourself parenting the wrong age? Because
All
with
the
my four, I
time.
do. Okay, so how do you differentiate? How do you?
Yeah, I'd say that the majority of our intentional discipleship that's done in a group format naturally defaults to the lower age range of our boys, just to ensure that the lowest common denominator in terms of age and intellectual capability can keep up. We're certainly not doing what Brett lamented earlier by going through Joel verse by verse with our kindergartner. He'd lose it after about 10 seconds, and even the oldest of them doesn't have the longest of attention spans. So we try to give some group time that is kind of tailored towards the younger group, and as they get to the older end of the spectrum, give them more and more intentional time, whether it's, hey, come to the store with me, and that trip time in the vehicle is really focused on some of the struggles they're facing, some finding creative ways to get them alone and ask them the hard questions so we can go deeper.
Yeah, this is something that I struggle with, honestly, because it is hard to see sometimes what looks on the outside to be similar behavior, or a similar response to something that I've asked one of them to do, and I have to remember, okay, wait a minute, like it is an actual check that I do in my head where I say, I am parenting a teenager right now. I am not parenting a 2-year-old, and it has been something that I've struggled with, but I've found that if I do check in with myself a little bit when I'm in the moment, I remember, okay, I can talk to them differently. I expect different things out of them. And of course, when I don't do that, I try very hard to say I'm sorry.
No, absolutely, and it is tough. I mean, it's tough because you've done it enough times. You've had that same conversation 100 times. You've asked them to do that thing. I mean, and it feels so much the same sometimes, and yet it's so different because of who's there. Okay, so you've had I'll call it the luxury of seeing 4 kids go through certain stages, and so you've parented 4 4-year-olds already, and you're out of that stage. What are some of the things when you have tried to disciple your kids at different ages? What has just worked? And it's like, you know what? This is just a universal at this stage. It works.
Yeah, so I really appreciated what some of you were talking about the capturing of bedtime, because that is a point when you've literally got a captive audience. For us, the verse Brett spoke earlier where he said the Shema, our kids say that every night. They're big nerds, and they say it in Hebrew, not because I'm a big nerd, but because I was so impacted by a seminary class that taught me that verse was one of the very first ones young children of faith were raised to know and recite. And so each of our kids say that first verse of Deuteronomy, that section that just affirms to them the God that we serve. We pray together, both in generalities and also in specifics there, setting the stage for a transformative work in the hearts of, right now, our youngest son, who has not yet come to that place in his life. We are trying to capture that moment for everyone. So that would be one thing that's really worked, particularly at the young ages. Do you have anything you'd add?
I would just say for us, dinner time was something that was a no-brainer. As our kids have gotten older, though, regular regular dinner time during the week has gotten harder to do. And so now we've kind of transitioned to a Sunday night dinner where we have family dinner on Sunday night, and we do some things during that family dinner that kind of look back at the week that we've just come through and look forward to the week that we're going into. Another thing, for a portion of time, we homeschooled. And so honestly, that was the easiest time for us to get these things because it was just part of our day.
Right.
Like we got up in the morning. But if you've got kids that are going to school all at the same time, or you're getting up kind of at the same time because they're kind of on the same schedule, that's not our reality right now. but it has been in the past. You could redeem some of that time in the morning too.
Yeah.
I would briefly add to that. Christy put into practice a great idea learned from someone here at FBG, where she identifies a short passage of scripture each morning. And as you're looking to target those kids that already have cell phones, she'll send a group text with that passage in it and talk about it through the week, and that'll be one of our subjects of conversation on that Sunday night dinner, and that's something she's led out in. I often get that on the way to work, and each of us are collaborating and talking about the impact of that verse on our lives all through the week.
Well, that's great. I mean, that's such a great example of meditating on the Word. You know, instead of trying to make sure that your kid has read through the entire book of whatever, you set that pace and you say, hey, we're Team Palmer. We're going through this together. That's really awesome. Now, one of the things that I'd say a year and a half ago that we tried with my oldest child was the New City Catechism. Catechisms are a question and answer format of teaching doctrine, and we failed at the New City Catechism. I want to be very clear. The answers were not being memorized. The commitment to it on my part was not as high as it needed to be to make that a part of our life. And so I think, you know, when you're trying to raise your kids and you're trying to disciple them and help them grow in the faith, there are things that you're going to try and fail at. And so what are some of the things that you have said, yeah, we tried that, but it didn't stick with our family?
Yeah, so I would say first, I'm so thankful for some people that I got to observe growing up that helped me understand that failure in the pursuit of following God and in the pursuit of discipling people is okay, in that the process does not always need to be non-negotiable. The transformed life is the non-negotiable. So if we attempt to read through Joel and realize we've stalled in the second chapter, it's okay if we put that on pause, potentially even indefinitely, and find something else that begins to impact our kids with the transformative power of the gospel. So it's never been one of even conceptualizing a started effort that did not go all the way as it was initially visioned to do, and even categorizing that as failure. It's just another step in the process of trying to find what does work in this season of our family at this unique spread of ages. And when we find that, we stay in it as long as it seems to be effective, and we're okay with change if it comes. Again, our goal is to see men of character and integrity, and what it takes for us to get there with men whose lives have been changed by Christ, the process along the way and how that shimmies with the different moments of life is totally negotiable.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, because I think one thing that we want to make sure that our church family knows is that the Sawyer Family Crafted Discipleship Plan is not going to be identical to the Palmer family. And so there will be people that may put the New City Catechism on their discipleship plan and be very successful in the sense that they get through it and it becomes a staple, where the Sawyers failed. And so I think I appreciate so much, you know, that the fact that we have the end goal in mind. And so, you know, the phrases that we would use as a congregation, as a church, is we want to be a ready bride. Mm-hmm. When it comes to individuals, we want our people to grow into spiritual maturity. And we want, you know, from a teaching standpoint, we want to teach them to obey. And so we have all these great end goals in mind, and that's the goal of the Family Crafted Discipleship Plan, is the end. We have this end in mind that we parent towards. And so, hey, thank y'all so much. I cannot tell you thank you enough. And in all seriousness, it's more of a challenge and more of a task and more of a commitment to come up to church today than it was a few months ago. And so thank you so much for making the time and being here. And so y'all have a great evening.
Appreciate that. Thanks, Michael.
You bet. Thank you, guys. Now, as everybody else is walking up to stage, we are about to transition to a game on Kahoot. And so if you want to pull out your phone and go to kahoot.it, kahoot.it, you'll be ready to go pretty quick. LJ?
All right, so once you get there, we got the game code up. It is 666062. Now, while people are doing that, I got a question for you guys. What's one of your favorite places that you've ever visited?
First of all, we've had technical problems in weeks past with the game code of 666. Are we just doomed? Like, we're still going? Okay. It's kind of scary.
Can we
Favorite place-
refresh that? I don't know.
Favorite place I've traveled to?
Sure.
Oh man, I'm gonna let one of y'all run with that real quick. I got to think through that. I was a military kid, so I got to see Europe.
Yeah, I would say Seguin, Texas. Is probably my favorite place.
Oh my.
There's got to be a story with that.
Yeah, I mean, you don't go to Seguin without seeing the world's largest pecan. And so I'm a huge fan of pecans, and I'm, in conjunction with that, a huge fan of nutcrackers. And Pape's Museum in Seguin, Texas has over 8,000 nutcrackers. And so everything from, your traditional twist nutcrackers to the ornamental and just standard metal ones. So it's a great place, Seguin, Texas.
It's just another chapter in the book of Michael Sawyer.
Right, people at home right now are going, is he serious? Is this real? And he is. He's very much so. That's what we love about him. It is awesome. He's got so many small facts we'd never know.
Why go to the beach when you can look at nutcrackers?
Well,
So I guess maybe if you could visit anywhere, where'd you visit?
not Seguin.
That you ain't lying.
I mean, I love the mountains. So the places I've been, Wyoming, Colorado, those places like that, I would go back. So
I mean, gosh, that's so hard. I would like to go back to Europe, having lived there as a junior high kid.
That's awesome.
We had so many opportunities. I mean, I can remember sitting and my parents going, "Hey, do y'all want to go? We're going to go to this castle. We're going to go do this." And as a 12-year-old, my answer was no, because I have a video game system. Why would I want to go see some castle that's falling apart? Now in my 40s, I wish I could reach back and smack 12-year-old me and go, put the video game controller down and go, because I had that free vacation that I missed out on. So I think you'd go back to Europe and see the things that I should have seen the first time.
All right, so we've got several people signed on. I saw that COVID-19 is in. Let's just hope that COVID-19 doesn't win tonight and or ever.
Yeah.
So we're going to start the game in 5 seconds. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, so I'm going to read a question. You're going to have it on your screen as well. And you are going to want to answer that question. You have 60 seconds to answer it. The quicker you answer it, the more points you're going to get. So here we go. First question. What is the total distance from Orlando, Florida, to Anaheim, California? What is the total distance from Orlando to Anaheim?
I have been to both those places. Have y'all?
I've been to neither.
Disney World.
I've been to Orlando.
I think Disneyland is in Anaheim, isn't it? I think.
Is that right? That may be why the question was written.
Could be.
that way. I mean,
Yeah,
so
maybe so.
I've been to Disneyland, not Disney World.
I did not go from Orlando to Anaheim, though. Let me be clear. Two different trips.
Yeah.
I don't drive more than I got a 10-hour radius. After that, it's airplanes for me. So
Can y'all see the answers up there?
I can see them here.
Let me see if they pull up on my phone here.
Um,
You got 5 seconds left on it.
and I had a question that I was about to ask, but I was going to get cut off. at the
What's
end,
the
just like
answer there?
always.
2,493. Got it. All right, let's move on to the second question here. So the second question is, it's an awesome question. Michael's going to enjoy this one. What is the distance from the Earth to the sun?
Probably a little further, I would think, than the Florida and California.
Orlando
Would
to
be my
Anaheim.
guess, but,
It's a tad further.
just a little bit.
Yeah, it's. I've never driven it either. I will say
Did you
that.
take a plane for that one?
Yeah, no, I've never been to the sun. Oh
Read
man.
an interesting article about the atmosphere around Venus this past week.
Do tell. We've got
You've got
38
30.
seconds.
Well, it's interesting because the atmosphere around Venus actually orbits itself, spins around the planet 60 times faster than the rotation of the planet itself.
Like, who went there to find this out?
NASA.
Yeah. Okay.
NASA.
I
Look
mean,
it
I
up.
guess I've no
Look
reason
it
not
up.
to
That's,
doubt it. But
that's real science
it
right
just
there,
seems
guys.
weird. I did learn this week that eagles. This does not have anything to do with the sun. Eagles have 3 eyelids.
That's really
Thank you, 4th grade science. Yeah, I've been learning that. It's pretty
God,
incredible.
that's incredible. I didn't know that.
I'll give you more eagle facts in a second, but we're about out of time.
That's incredible. All right, so the answer is, what is that?
93 million miles.
Million miles, yeah.
93 million miles.
Yeah.
That's
Just a
incredible.
Short jaunt.
All right, question 3. Here we go. It is in their hit song from 1988 called I'm Gonna Be Me, what distance do the Proclaimers say they would walk? Hey, that's a great song.
Is it? The answer's in your head right
Oh,
now.
for
right?
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
all
this
singing
is
it
this
right
is
now.
one. This is
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Everyone that's like, maybe
Yeah.
what do you have to be 30 and older to like? How are you guys?
I mean, so I was born in '87, and so this song came out a year after I was born, and
You still know it?
yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's common. Like
Yeah.
this is yeah.
I think also on one of the all-time great movies, wasn't it on Dumb and Dumber? I think it
mean-
was. Could be wrong there.
I only watch, you know,
Oh, right. You only watch Christian movies. I forgot.
Yeah, that's right.
And Lord of the Rings.
and Lord of the Rings is a Christian movie.
Yeah, I
So-
got you.
You got good, evil,
So
darkness, light.
can any we should give bonus points. You get a free prize if you can name another Proclaimer song other than this one. Talk about a one-hit wonder.
Oh man.
My goodness. All right.
And the answer is
Wow. 500.
500.
Yeah. Okay. I think Michael, you're gonna have to read the answers out for us. You keep staring off, but you're the only one that can see them. So.
Oh.
Who's
Well, I'm
winning
trying
right
to
now?
win.
You-
I'm trying
can you
to
tell
say
who's
who
winning?
is-
We can't see who's winning.
That looks like a B. Oh, the Bezners are winning.
Bezners.
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go.
All right.
Yeah.
Amy's in second, right? Is that so, Amy?
better one, better
Even
two.
better.
You got better eyesight than I do.
All right, question 4. Let's knock it out. It says, Yonge Street in Toronto, Canada is the longest street in the world. What is its total distance?
Now, I have not been here. I've not been to Toronto. Not been to Canada. Of all the countries I've been to, Canada is not one, which is interesting. I've not been to the top hat of America.
Nor have I.
I will be, though, because my goal to get to every Major League Baseball park, I have not been to see the Blue Jays yet.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah.
I'm desperately looking forward to not just the Toronto baseball game, but Niagara Falls, which I believe is like in Toronto, the sister city across from Niagara Falls, I think. If not, I'm just showing my
Dude,
ignorance.
geography is not me.
So
Hey, so really though, have you heard them talking about the potential for baseball to be played centrally?
Yeah. Well, the new ballpark up in Arlington, maybe one of those locations.
That's what I'm talking about.
all right, here we go. The answer, Michael. Can you see the answers from your phone, or are you just we eagle eyeing it?
Eagle Eye.
Oh, okay.
Eagle Eye. Yeah. So the
Man.
correct answer is 1,178 miles, or also known as 1,178.
Man, that's
There it
impressive. Looks like Besner
So
missed
Amy,
that question.
Amy's in the lead right now. Congratulations.
Who
on
do we
that.
have in
biased,
second?
But I'm cheering for Amy.
Yeah.
Mississippi's in second. All right, next question, question 5. Here we go. Who holds the world record for the long jump with a total distance of 8.95 meters?
That would be former Dallas Cowboy Byron Jones. He set that at the combine a few years ago.
I don't think that's the correct answer. I don't think Byron Jones is up there. Of course, this could be a dated trivia. Are you being serious that he really set a world record?
He set a combine record
Oh.
for the broad jump.
Well, that should be
Um,
good
which is
enough.
better than
Right, for sure.
this.
Uh,
But he's no longer a Dallas Cowboy, so
yeah,
It doesn't
No.
matter.
we don't really care.
Miami Dolphins.
Yeah.
Man, I had to stay a Cowboy. I have been to Miami. We can just list off the places I've been as we're talking about. I can tell you all the places I've been and then Eagle facts. That can be the rest of the night. Do you know that the eyelids of the eagle, the third one, is like a windshield wiper? It moves horizontally and clears the eagle's eyes.
Did not know that.
I did not.
There you go.
Well, no, I didn't know that because I didn't know they had 3.
Mike Powell's the answer.
Mike Powell, correct answer. The majority of people knew that. They got that right.
Current governor of Tennessee.
And but Amy got knocked out of the lead. Mississippi is in the lead. There we go.
There we go. Question 6. Miami, Florida is closer to Brazil than it is to Washington State.
Since this is a true or false question, obviously I would miss it.
That's right.
Just like
50-50.
chocolate
you get a
chips or-
50-50
no.
chance of getting it
Okay,
right,
you get
but you
one.
have a
You get
100%
one at
chance of
least
getting
out
it
of
wrong.
Yeah, I actually do know the answer to this question because I have been to Miami and I have been to Brazil. I have not been to Washington State. I'm just kidding. Not like I measured.
You've been there. And
I was
so
pretending
you know
like
the
I was real
distance.
smart. Like I
Yeah.
did not measure. True
So
or
I-
false?
So I went on a mission trip to Brazil, and my goal was to eat as many unique cookies as I could. And so when I hit 14 cookies the first day, I thought I should slow down. So, But it was good. was good.
What's better in Brazil, Brazilian cookies or Brazilian guaraná?
Oh,
It's a soda.
yeah, I would say the guaraná is, but the fresh coconut water was my absolute favorite. That was so good.
There we go. And the answer is
True. We can all read that. That is crazy to think that Miami's closer to Brazil. That is really crazy.
Has our leaderboard changed at all?
Has not.
Love it. Next question. Question 7. What is the tallest building in the world at 828 meters?
We know it's not in the United States because of the use of the metric system.
Good call.
So
I don't think any of the answers. Oh, well, there's
it's
an
actually
answer up
it's
there.
actually against United States law to use the metric system.
Well, so you're helping people out right there, unless somebody.
Actually, that's not a true statement.
It should be, though.
Very clear.
Yeah, I wasn't really listening to what you said, but it should be.
I do always have to look up conversions from pints to cups and quarts and stuff. I will never have that memorized.
Yep.
Ever.
My kids, my fourth grader's doing meters right now. She's turning meters into decimeters and kilometers or kilometers.
Yeah.
So we can do a little homework when we get done here.
Anybody up for running a 1K after this?
I'm
Nope.
going to pass.
No thanks.
Hard pass.
Not at all.
Did you run today?
No, I didn't run today. No.
All right, here we go. 3 seconds left. Correct answer. Who's got the eagle eyes?
The red one.
The one in
Red.
Dubai. It's in Dubai. It's
It's
on.
in
Dubai.
Dubai.
It's in Dubai.
We probably couldn't pronounce it anyway. All right.
Oh man.
First place stayed the same, but we got some movement below, it looks like.
I like that the person with the geography name is
Yeah,
winning
true.
this.
There we go. It's fitting. Question 8. What is the estimated distance Forrest Gump ran during his 3+ year run?
That's a great question.
That is a good question.
I mean, he just kept running.
He did. And running and running and running.
Classic
Too many.
movie, for sure.
Yeah.
It is, but then he stops. I mean, like what?
It was time.
Yeah.
I need to go back and watch that. It's been a while.
Mm.
Favorite Tom Hanks movie?
Oh, dude.
So we started the Money Pit last night.
I said favorite Tom Hanks movie.
Probably the Burbs.
I don't even know what to do. Like, we got from the Money Pit and the Burbs of all the Tom Hanks movies. Go, LJ or Kendall. Somebody save us.
No, man.
Huh?
Hey, for the kids, I'm a huge Toy Story fan, so that would be one of my favorites.
Yeah,
is Toy
definitely.
Story.
Definitely.
We do watch Polar Express every year.
Mr. Rogers, though,
I did not see that.
I haven't seen it.
I hear good things. It's
Oh,
on
you
our
haven't seen it
list.
either?
No.
Oh.
It's,
All right,
All right,
correct
the answer is 10,000 miles. Is that right?
19,000.
19,000.
19,000
Man, I can't
miles.
see.
It's red. Okay. I'm doing colors. That's all I can do.
New winner.
New. Stephanie in the lead. Stephanie was in the lead a couple games ago.
Here we go. Well, 2 questions to go. In 2013, Asrita Furman set the record for riding a blank underwater for a distance of 1.3 miles.
Now, this is one of those most random questions of all.
Hey, can you read those off? Because I'm really interested in what
Unicycle,
this is.
tricycle, snowmobile, and submersible scooter.
Man,
That's crazy.
The first one was unicycle, is that right?
I'm so impressed by your eyesight. So if you're at home, we've got a big screen in the back that we can see, but we're all old enough that we can't actually see the screen, so we're just making it up as we go. I'd say this, just as we're doing little trivia facts about ourselves and eagles and things like that. I would not want to be underwater long enough to have to go 1.3 miles. That's where sharks live.
Yeah. Well, even above the water. I mean, if you're in the water at all, there's sharks. So.
That's true. That's why I'm not a big fan of the ocean. Now our rivers, I found out that the bull shark can swim up in the river too. So I'll go in the river. All right, correct answer. Unicycle, which leaves me with more questions than answers of how that happened.
Definitely.
But-
That's worth a YouTube search later on today.
all right,
right.
so Stephanie's in the lead, right? Is that right?
That's
and
right.
we got one question left.
Last one. Question 10. What is the distance between a regulation soccer goal's goalposts? Michael, I feel like you probably know this one.
Well, I mean, so the issue here though is they're trying to trick you. So
Yeah, they got meters, feet.
they've got meters,
yards,
feet, and yards,
all
and
the
all of the
above.
above.
It's pretty tricky.
But I'm still gonna lean into this is kind of like that out of country thing. It's got to be meters. Like
because
But
I can't express my
Oh,
views.
that's right. It's soccer, not football, and so it may be feet or yards.
Dilemma.
I can't give my views on soccer in a live setting. People's feelings would be hurt. I'm just gonna say, like, I don't understand why you just use your feet. Like, God gave you hands.
Yeah.
Do something with them.
I know nothing about it. And the correct answer is all of the above.
All right,
the
so our winner for tonight, social distance trivia, in third place was CW. In second place,
Cooper Hardy.
Cooper Hardy.
There we go, Coop.
And I'm guessing he thinks Stephanie.
Yeah, first place is Stephanie.
Stephanie, good
Oh,
job.
9 out of 10. That's really good.
Well, hey, we're running behind. Let me wrap us up with this real quick, and then we'll get going. On the website, you've got some resources that you can look at, and there's 3 things I would love for you to reference this week, and we're going to throw them on your screen. There is a blank family crafted discipleship plan. It's not fancy right now. It's just some squares and rectangles, but you have in the center section things where you can start putting your rhythms down. And then you've got 4 other blocks on either side that are places that you can start thinking through seasons. Why would you do this? We want you to print it off, and we want you to write in it. Because when you write it down, it helps solidify it. And then you hang it up somewhere where you see it on a regular basis. So also on the website, you can download if you need some help, is a simple one. So it looks like this. I filled in some examples. So you're listening to interview and listening to us talk. Like you heard Michael talk about his family and his discipleship plan. You might have went, I don't know what the word catechism means. Or you might have went, man, I want to teach my kids how to say the Shema in Hebrew, but I don't know Hebrew. That's okay. You do what the Lord has called you to do. And so in the sample one, I put 2 things up from every category, 2 missional livings, 2 church engagement, 2 spiritual disciplines, and 2 family lives. For a win, like all we want you to do is have at least one of those. So this simple plan is twice as good as what we would ask for you to do. If you can get one out of each category and start living there, then live there. And as time goes on, each year in August, September of this year, we'll start talking about this again, and you'll pull them out and you'll redo them because your kids will be in a different stage of life. The Lord have moved you to a different place, and you might add to it, you might take some away. The third one that you have up there is the Levi's version. So this is my personal one, and so you can download and look at it. You don't need to do this one. This won't necessarily fit your family. It fits our family with girls in the home and one in junior high and one in elementary school. And so you can look through that, download it, but I just put it up there so you can see some ideas and maybe grab a hold of them. So here's your next step. We're going to tune back in next week for one final roundtable. And between now and then, we would love for you to take the 4 worksheets that you've been working on: spiritual disciplines, missional living, church engagement, family life. Start thinking through the rhythms and seasons you're going to write down on tonight's worksheet, and then combine those into your family crafted discipleship plan. When you get it done, here's what I'd love for you to do. Send a message to the Remind, send me an email. I would love to know when you get it done. Might even ask you for a copy that we can put up for some people to do. We'll make it anonymous, but that would help some people out. So, hey, thank you guys for joining us tonight. Have a great week, and we will see you next Wednesday. And hopefully we'll start seeing you again, like in real life person, really, really soon.